And here we are. Dr. Manny St. Victor, board certified hypnotist Paul Ramsey. We're gonna get deeper.
We're gonna get deeper.
Yeah, man.
Who knows how deep we'll go? You never know.
Hey, Alex, was it Alice in Wonderland? Rabbit holes aplenty. You know. Now, I wanted to make sure we review what we went over in the last couple of episodes, just to make sure everyone's caught up.
Okay.
So we've discussed hypnosis. We've discussed some of the core induction processes, and I feel like that's all we've done. We've discussed some of the background of some of the people, and now we're up to from induction to deepening. Did I leave out something?
No, because you're right. What we really did was sort of start with conceptual stuff.
Okay.
And then in the last one, we got a little more into where the rubber meets the road, talking about inductions, but it was still more on the conceptual side. We didn't start getting into like demonstrating actual inductions and stuff. I was thinking about it afterward. Maybe we should do like a follow-up video where we actually do that. I don't know yet. But now, now we're more into talking about, okay, really talking about the experience itself, like as you're going through this, what's going on,
Okay.
So
what did hypnosis feel like, didn't we?
We did. We talked about that, about some of the ways that people get associative feelings and the way that the body changes and stuff when people go into hypnosis.
Yeah.
We've talked about a lot of stuff, but there's a lot going on,
Yeah.
Depth.
Yes, sir.
So we talked about this when we did that short series on self-hypnosis.
Yes.
So for people who have seen that, this will be a little bit of a recap, but I'll try to flex a little bit of different stuff into it. But the first thing is you sort of have to get your head around the idea that depth is really an abstraction. I mean, because we're talking about the mind. We're not even talking about the brain. When we talk about hypnosis, we tend to say it's this state that occurs in your mind, right? And there are things going on in the brain, but we don't go deep into your brain, and if you say, you go deeper into your mind, well, what the hell does that mean? So it's really sort of a reference point for us to try to give some conceptual form to the work that we're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've got a counter explanation, which kind of coming from the neuroscience side. The way that we make meaning happens the second something goes from unconscious, which happens in 4-dimensional plus math. The second that you put it into words, it becomes 3-dimensional. What happens is you use space as your metaphors for everything: up, down, left, right. And Lakoff wrote some stuff about that in I'm not going to remember the name of Lakoff's book. Metaphor. It's something metaphor. George Lakoff. But a newer version of explaining it, how it really works in detail for those who are curious, is making meaning. I'd have to put that link there later. But everything your body does is embodied. It's all about your body, this entity, surviving to another generation. So anything you think of in your subconscious mind is also, like, when you bring it up, it becomes time-space related. It becomes related to your body interacting with it.
That's very helpful. Thank you so much for that. That makes me feel better. Because this is what people really do. They talk about it like it's a place that we go, that it's a space that we inhabit.
Yep.
And you'll find that if you start reading up, searching online, and reading books about hypnosis, that there are different standards for assessing depth. There's the Ahrens scale, 6 levels of depth. There's the Lacron-Bordeaux scale. It has like 40 levels or something like that. There's the Stanford scale, and that has like 24 levels. You can get pretty into it if you need to. I always favor keeping things simple because I think simple makes it more manageable. So I use Ahrens' depth scale. 6 levels. Here, I think I made a little graphic once. Let me. 6 levels. The first 3 are Nisic, meaning that a person will remember their experience if they're in the first 3 levels. The 4th, 5th, and 6th are amnesic levels. People who get into those levels, once they come out of hypnosis, on their own, they would tend to forget their experience. You can give them post-hypnotics to remember and recall their experience, but if you don't intervene somehow, when people get into those last 3 levels, they're going to have amnesia.
Okay.
So we can buzz through them real quick. So if you're using Aaron's depth scale, the first one is a hypnoidal state, sort of like when you're falling asleep at night and you're awake and you know you're awake because you're still thinking to yourself, but you don't quite feel like yourself. That's a hypnoidal state.
Okay.
If you go deeper to level 2, that's where we can start to create catalepsy, which is a waxy pliability in the musculature. You can actually get things stuck.
Yep. Now, pause for 1 second. I'm sorry to stop you.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
But I want to make sure, when I went through the page, it says request an invitation. You will receive an invitation when the organizer approves your request. So just to make sure we're not shadowboxing by ourselves, first of all, do you have any viewers that are usual viewers? Are any of them available on there?
I do not have the, hold on, let me check. I was left at the event page that we had made before.
Okay. So I just want to make sure no one's left behind on the trip.
Yeah, they're there.
Okay.
Gary and Grizz and Zara and yeah.
Okay, so people are able to get in. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, what page do I need to be on to be able to see people's comments and conversation? I just want to make sure
You need to be on this page that I will drop into the chat area of this Hangout right now.
Okay. Now, what's neat is they have a new share link feature that Grizz and I were testing a few minutes ago. And sorry to take everybody off track, but I just want to make sure.
You got it there?
Yeah. I want to make sure I'm grounded into the actual embedded event.
Small crew tonight.
That's cool. That's cool. Small but dedicated. So we're good. All right. So I can see what people are saying. I'm good.
Yep. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Cool.
And I've got to figure out how to mute my chat because that was driving me about crap.
You can mute the notifications on it.
Now, how do you do that?
You click on the actual. You get into that actual Hangout. You click the gear icon. And then where it says notifications and it's checked off, you uncheck it.
Yeah. Hey, Grizz, I'm muting you. Okay. Right. And we're back. I'm sorry. Okay. So can you take me to the beginning of the Aaron's depth scale concept so I can have it?
We'll run right through it. We'll run through it again. So the first level is what's called a hypnoidal level. It's very light. The person in a hypnoidal state of hypnosis will really feel like themselves. They will not feel hypnotized really. And the comparison I used before was like when you go to bed at night and you're laying there and you know you're still awake because you're thinking and you're aware of what you're thinking about, but at the same time you feel just a little bit different.
Okay.
You know, you're in that in-between state where you haven't fallen asleep yet, but you're maybe you don't feel quite as aware of your body as you normally would or stuff like that. That's a hypnoidal state.
Okay.
You go deeper to level 2, and that's where we can start to produce catalepsy. We can get people to get their arm stuck where they like raise it up in front of them.
Okay.
And they try to bend your arm down and they can't. It's like locked in place. We can get the eyelids to be stuck closed. That's that Elman induction that we used before. Catalepsy. That's that point where the critical faculty gets bypassed. Because if you're at a point where your arm's out in front of you and you're looking at it and the operator says, try to bend it down, you'll find that you can't, and you try and you can't. Well, that's because you're accepting the suggestion, and in doing so, bypassing the critical faculty, which normally in your head would go, that's ridiculous. Of course I can bend it down, and you'd bend it right down.
Yeah. Now, I want to kind of sidebar to the catalepsy because it's worth noting to take your hypnotic concepts over to pathological conditions. Some of my patients that I've had in the past with schizophrenia, when they go into catalepsy, they'll stand there in a weird position for hours, and you
For
can't.
hours, right?
And so, what the concept, the power behind that concept is realizing that the part of the brain that needs to do the motor firing to bring that arm down is not sending the dopamine signals down there. You know, it's not like the person is playing games with you. That system is shut down. Those scripts are not running.
That's cool.
So, back to number 3. I'm sorry.
That's all right. No, that's good. And that's, you know, I've explained my version of that to people before, that you can pull that arm up in like a salute shape or something where it's out away from the body, where most people would look at it and they'd think that should be getting me tired, you know? But it's really such a neutral state that the musculature, that they can hold it for a long, long time, and it won't shake or get tired or anything. It's really interesting to observe. We get to level 3. That's the level where we can produce aphasia, which is where you can think of a name or a word or a number in your head, but you can't connect the thought to your mouth. You can't say it. And then when we go to 4, that's where we actually get true amnesia, where you wouldn't even be able to think of the name. So that's, in my stage show, that's what I do to really figure out who I want to keep on stage and who I want to send back. Is the first task that I really give them is to forget their own name.
Okay.
And if they truly forget it, great. They're already in level 4 and they're gonna be awesome in the show. I can tell by their eye movements and their mouth movements when they can see it in their head, and I'll click this off for a second so you can. They'll go like this. I'll go, hey, what's your name? And they'll start to move the mouth like they want it, but they can't say it. So they can see it and they have a recognition of it, and they start to try to, but they can't. That's aphasia. And that's at level 3. If I can get them to do a few more tasks and have them deepen through realization, then I know I can get them to 4 or 5 and they'll be fine. So I keep them. But if I can't,
I add one thing to that, just for the neuroscience parallel. There are 2 forms of aphasia worth thinking about. There's the part associated with Broca's region, and the other part is associated with Wernicke's region. So if anyone wants to dig deeper, they can do that. Now, one thing I wanted you to tell, and you didn't tell, is when you were telling me about the one gentleman in the stage show where you were able to bring the memory around to the front by symbolically moving the word.
Oh, yeah, that's always so in my show I play with it just to have fun with it a little bit. We go to play with that situation, and I'll say to someone, I'll say, hey, what's your name? And they'll either, or they won't move, they'll just be looking like they're looking for it, and they can't. And so what's fun to do is I'll say to them, you know what's so interesting though, because when I build the suggestion, I tell them to send the name to the deepest, darkest back corner of their mind. Okay. It's a nice metaphorical way of guiding them to move it without losing it.
Okay.
That's usually what confounds people, is they get tense at the idea of losing their name. But if you tell them they're just going to move it, and later we'll move it back to its normal access point, they're cool with it usually. So then what I'll do is I'll say, isn't this interesting? If we just take it from back here and we move it right up to the front again, you can say it. Go ahead, say your name. And they go, Paul. And you go, yeah, but if I just wipe it right off, like wiping it off a chalkboard, it disappears again. Try to say your name, and it's gone. All that, just the simple symbolic of I'm dragging it up, there it is, and they can say it. I'm wiping it off, it's gone again, and it goes. Like suggestions can be so simple sometimes in how you build them and facilitate them. It's really, really cool. It's really cool. But and the other interesting thing there, and this is more your world, Manny, is that's how fast we process. Mm-hmm. It's not like we need to sit there and process all that out. Okay, so what he wants me to do is, but no, it just happens.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to add, because of that example, I want to go ahead and pinpoint here, and hopefully it's not too much down the path. Before something becomes conscious where you can say it, every possible meaning of that word is activated in your semantic cortex. Like, if you say to someone bank and they don't have the context cues yet, and then you start to say the sentence, what you'll find in the ERP is like that riverbank is activated. You'll find that bank where money is going to be is activated. And then as soon as the word goes to consciousness, then a single one, the one that's context that's appropriate, is the embodied simulation for that is activated. Now,
So fast.
yeah,
Amazing.
but that point right before those words are activated, that's what we call cognitive dissonance. That is pure torture. So when you're helping someone with the disinhibition by going deeper, what you're doing is you're loosening the grip that sometimes grabs the wrong one, the wrong script.
Ah.
Okay? People, when they're scared, they grab, and they call it neuroticism and tolerance for cognitive closure. When people are scared, they grab the first thing and it's wrong and they don't care and they won't let it go. And then you can't explain it to them because their brain doesn't want to go back to that thought. So that's one of the powerful places where the hypnosis works, is that as a trusted person, you're explaining it to the person in a non-threatening way, and you're walking them to somewhere without their inhibitions while you get deeper.
Very cool.
So hopefully that wasn't too much of a digression. Carry on.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's nice. So then we can go a step deeper. We can go to level 5.
Cool. Can you put the thing up again? I just want to make sure.
I'm putting it up right now.
Thank you.
So level 5, now we get into 5 and 6 are the somnambulistic levels. Mm-hmm. Somnambulism is the old-fashioned word for sleepwalking. Mm-hmm. And this is like your real deep, this is considered the deepest hypnosis. So when we get to somnambulism, people can have anesthesia. They can have an actual, you can numb up a part of the body and it will not feel pressure, it will not feel pain. And the other big thing that you can accomplish in level 5 is what we call positive hallucinations, seeing something that isn't actually there.
Yeah.
You go deeper to 6, and now we can have negative hallucinations, not seeing something that actually is there. And that is some freaky shit. Yeah. Like I mean, it's freaky for a lot of people too, to see something that isn't really there. But when you watch people actually have an experience where they don't perceive something that is right there in the physical world, that's a pretty neat thing to behold. And what I'll do in my show sometimes is toward the end of the show, when I know that there's a better chance that they've gotten to that level of depth, I'll make myself invisible, and I'll put a water bottle. Yeah, I'll put a water bottle in front of the chair row where all the volunteers are, about 8-10 feet in front of the chair row, and I set the suggestion, and then I have them open their eyes, and then I'll walk out in front, and I'll walk slowly to the water bottle while I talk into the microphone, and they hear me, but they don't see me, so they'll all be looking like this and looking like this, and I'll be walking right in front of them. Now, you'll see from eye motions, some of them aren't deep enough, and so they see me, and they're a little confused because it's not working for them. But for the ones who are deep enough, they don't see me. Then I pick up the water bottle, which to them looks like the water bottle is levitating in the air.
I love it.
And then I take the cap off and I drink out of it. So they watch the water. They watch the water tilt and go out of the bottle, but not pour on the floor. And and they never get. They're just like dumbfounded. They're awestruck, you know.
That is fascinating.
Then I deactivate and I appear to them again, and we sort of have a laugh about it and everything. It's cool. But
excellent wingman. Like, we can hit clubs in Miami next month.
Right? We could have some fun. I know.
Now, I want to put a couple medical anchors in here, just to point out that one of the concepts that people struggle with a lot, that is really not that complex when you kind of let it go and just kind of take it in as just a little piece of information and not the emotional aspect, is that consciousness is in large part an attention phenomenon. Okay? So there certain diseases show you that, like certain diseases of attention. Well, autism is in part related to some attention. Social anxiety disorder is related to attention to negative cues. Subconsciously, your brain filters out the positive things that people say about you, and all you see is the negative. Depression as well. Now, one of the more medical ones, and I like the medical ones because up until we were able to see what the brain was doing, they were like, okay, well, something's broken in there. But and I'm blanking on the name of it, but I'll put it in the chat in the stream later. But there's a condition in which a patient can only, after a certain stroke, can only see like half of the room. And if you have them draw the room, they draw everything in half, like with a line down it. Okay. Now, if you take them to the other side of the room and you have them look at the room, they will draw with half the room. Yeah, like, and that is purely an attention phenomenon where that part of the body can run the autopilot scripts, but they won't like, it's not in consciousness.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. So that's part of like one of the amazing consciousness and attention things that I want to kind of anchor in that concept.
Wow. Wow. So there's one more. We can go, maybe you have something for this. I don't know, man. We can go one more. Some folks would argue, and I'm open to this because I've seen it demonstrated, it's pretty neat, that you can go even deeper than 6. Some people will say no, 6 just maybe runs deeper. Maybe it's semantics, I don't know. But
everything's semantics.
Right? So Aaron's depth scale has these 6 levels. Some people will say that you can go beyond 6 to what is known as the Esdale state.
Okay.
And Esdale was a Scottish surgeon who in the 1800s went to India and was assisting the poor, providing medical services to the poor in India. Because they couldn't pay, he couldn't stock his clinic the way it should be stocked. And so one of those things was he couldn't provide ether the way he would like to because he just couldn't afford it. These people were coming in and he was trying to give them care, but he couldn't pay. They couldn't pay, and so he couldn't pay for ether. So what he learned to do was he learned what at the time was still largely considered mesmerism, back to Anton Mesmer's work.
Yeah.
And Braid had taken it a step forward right around Esdale's time and had coined neurohypnosis. And so what Esdale would do is he would do this long hypnotic process with people, and he would get them so deeply hypnotized that they would go into a coma-like state. They could not move, they could not talk, they were aware. They reported later after the whatever procedure they were having, they said they could hear the whole time and that they were thinking, but they could not move their bodies at all and they could not speak. And he learned to produce this state, and in that state he did hundreds of procedures, I mean including like amputations, like major stuff.
Yeah.
And in that state, these people would not have pain. They would be comfortable and quiet, and they would have no pain, and he would do these procedures. So some people consider that an even deeper level of hypnosis than the 6th level on Aaron's scale. That's sort of the academic debate that goes on. Is, you know, anytime you're trying to draw lines on things, you know, like where do you stop, how far can you go? Inez Simpson is a practicing hypnotist today who she has what she calls the Simpson protocol, and it's sort of Esdale-esque, and she does that kind of work, not medical work, but she uses it to do change work with people, where she tries to take them to that deep state and use it to work on change work with people. So there's some things going on that people are still exploring and testing the abilities of. And again, you know, it's hard because how do you all the stuff I listed here, we're measuring it based on observable experiential criteria, right? Can we make the hand numb? Can we make you hallucinate something? But other than that, it's not like anybody that I'm aware of yet has said, well, when the brain tunes to this frequency, you're at this level of hypnosis. When the
I,
brain,
I've got the data for that.
you do? Yeah?
Remind me to
I
look
would
it up.
love to see that.
I've got like who did the work on that? The same guy, somatic marker hypothesis. Damasio will be one
Yeah.
we'll look because Damasio has all the work on integration convergence zones, I think he calls them, where each associative cortex combines concepts. And what you'll find is that there's an affective component of pain, and then there's a physiological component of pain. And by reducing the affective component of the pain, which is the shame, the hurt, the ones associated with social aspects, you're able to create, I hate to say, a crisper, cleaner pain, but you're able to shut down the cortisol aspects that are increasing, well, decreasing the pain threshold. Actually, it might not be changing the threshold. It might just be increasing the signal interpretation. I have to like kind of think through that, but I've got the data for that.
Okay.
And I've got like the subconscious suggestion elements are the ones where, and we might be able to call some folks that I know over in Miami to do some studies on this, where what they did with the unconscious people who were kind of locked in syndrome, weren't able to communicate, is that they found that they could have the people answer yes, no questions by saying, if you want me to do this, think about tennis. If you don't want me to do this, think about, and it was something that in the semantic simulation system, like in the enactment simulation system, it looked different. And so they were able to take people and see what level of consciousness that they're at, which is what I see this list as parallel to. Okay. Now, I want to connect one more concept, and this is going into geekerific area. The concept is orexin hypocretin, which is controls arousal. Okay, because you're looking at pleasure, arousal, and dominance. So arousal is the one you want to look at, and I think arousal increases the amount, it increases your alertness, and as such, it brings your attention to a specific stimulus. You know, which means you feel the pain more because you're more conscious of the pain.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
I'm going to go conceptually around the whole thing, but like I kind of have to like pull thoughts back in my brain, like.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah, man. But
all right.
I've got the data for that.
All right. So the last thing I think we should cover, talking about depth, is a little bit more of the details on how do you create depth, right? Because now we've sort of defined how you might measure depth or observe depth, but we want to talk about how do you actually do it. So let's go back to the previous video. We talked about the ways that you can do an induction. So you would induce, you would assess then based on these types of things. You'd say, how well am I doing? How far did my induction take them? Let me check. Like, can I get them to do eye catalepsy and get their eyes stuck? Can I get them to do arm catalepsy and get their arms stuck? Can I get them to, we're moving down the stages right now, can I move down to 3 and get them to lose a name, a number, a word, where maybe they see it in their mind but they can't say it? Or can I go all the way to 4 and get them to truly forget it? Everything you do on that scale that you accomplish, you're going to get them to that level. If they're completing it, if they're fulfilling it, you're getting them there. So that's what we call deepening through realization. Give them a task that you know if they can complete this, they're at this level.
Okay.
Start on the low end so that you're not pushing them too fast. Start on the easy end and work your way to the harder end.
Okay.
Every time they complete something, they, in their head, have this understanding of, I did that. That's good. I must be doing this. And they go deeper. So the other common concept with that is pyramiding. Is we start at the base with the easiest, broadest level suggestions. It's sort of inverting the scale metaphorically. We start at the base and we work up to the peak, to the harder, more challenging things. But every level that we go as we climb the pyramid, we're helping build that pyramid for them. We're helping them build a strong hypnotic experience, one level at a time. Okay. And we do that by giving them a task to perform, and then they deepen through the realization that they've completed the task.
Okay. Now, would that count as, if and I might be jumping ahead, but if the post-hypnotic suggestion is to do something a couple of days later. Now, will a person develop, can we kind of trigger insight that way by the subconscious mind, right? The unconscious mind being aware, hey, I did it myself and it wasn't a pill. It wasn't someone telling me what to do, but one of my scripts that I've taken control of.
Yeah, so if we give a post-hypnotic, they're going to fulfill it after they've ended their hypnotic experience, right? So we're not providing deepening because deepening happens in hypnosis.
Okay.
What we're doing is we're reinforcing their confidence in their ability to take suggestion and to fulfill suggestion if we give them that post-hypnotic and they fulfill it the next day, whatever, you know, an hour later, 2 hours later, the next day, they fulfill it, it gives them that feeling of like, this is really working for me. Now, that brings me maybe to the other concept that's important for understanding deepening, which is fractionation.
Okay.
If I give you a hypnotic experience, I hypnotize you, I work you through things, I end the hypnosis, you leave my office. The next time you come back, if you have a positive experience and you have confidence, like that went pretty well for me, you'll be easier to hypnotize the next time you do it.
Okay.
Now, the next time, you most likely go into hypnosis more quickly, more easily, and more deeply.
Okay.
And so on and so forth every time you repeat the experience.
That sounds like trust to me.
It's a sort of trust. It's also a familiarity with the experience.
Okay.
It's grasping, like, okay, now I know what it is, and I know how it feels for me, and I can do it.
Okay.
Right? And it's sort of a little bit of like, I trust, things are going good, I feel confident, and I'm familiar, and all of these things coming together. Now, a long time ago, I want to say it was Bernheim, but I'm not sure. One of the old school hypnotists, way back when, sort of put two and two together and finally said, you know what? Why am I bringing them back week after week after week to get them better at hypnosis? Why don't I just put them into hypnosis and take them out on the same day, same session? Put you into hypnosis, take you out. Put you back into hypnosis, take you out. Put you back into hypnosis, take you out. In like a 1 hour session, put you in and out of hypnosis 7 times. And every time you go back in, you're going to go a little deeper. Same effect. Oh, I'm going back into hypnosis. I know I can. And that's where the concept of fractionation was created. That once you have that experience, it's easier to go back into it again. And you go deeper.
Okay.
So modern hypnotists will use that technique as a deepening technique all by itself. So don't be surprised if you go to see a hypnotist, if in the session, whether it's a 1 or 1.5 hour or 2 hour session, if that hypnotist does an induction with you, talking nice to you and all the stuff we talked about in the last video, and then says, all right, what I want you to do now is open your eyes. And you open your eyes. And you're like, part of you may be like, are we done? What's the deal? And they go, okay, nice big deep breath in, breathe out and close your eyes. And you close your eyes. And now you've that's boom, reinduction. Just like that. Simple, fast, easy. And they patter you through. They talk you through. And now let a big wave of relaxation go from the top of your head right down to the bottom of your feet. Deeper and deeper, more and more relaxed. And they talk to you a little bit more. And then they say, okay, on the count of 3, open your eyes. 1, 2, 3. Eyes open, and you open your eyes. And they talk to you. And they're fractionating. And they're helping you go deeper, and they're helping you go deeper. So that's another way. Now, you can do that on your own if you're practicing self-hypnosis. That's where I'm going to with this. Is anyone watching this video, if you want to, that's a way for you to get better at hypnosis.
Okay.
All right? So you could practice that process.
Okay. So can you tell me, kind of walk me through what that would be like, a script for a self-hypnosis, just a short one, hopefully not taking us too far, but like just high-speed chipmunk style of doing that. Just so I can hear.
Okay, so we'll do just like we did on the earlier self-hypnosis series. We'll repeat that classic Elman induction experience, okay? But we'll add some deepening to it right off. So if you were going to do roughly, some people argue about the finer points of Elman, but the basic Elman induction is to do an eye fixation. Breathe as you exhale. Close your eyes. So you could sit in a chair on your couch at home, pick a point on the wall across from you, fixate on that point, and just do 3 quick breaths. We'll imagine 1, 2. On your 3rd breath, as you exhale, you'd close your eyes. You'd bring all your attention up to your eyes, and you'd fixate on the idea of letting all of the muscles that control your eyes and your eyelids relax so completely that they just won't work anymore. They get so relaxed. And the way to think about that so that you can be successful is to really think about moving your eyes and your eyelids means you have to put muscular tension into all these little tiny muscles. And you can do that.
I think I gave Dr. Vogelman the wrong link.
Oh, yeah? It said he just joined.
Yeah, but I think he's in the film strip with us.
Oh, he's in the film strip. You brought him into the hangout.
But it's okay. I'll tell you.
You have some nerve, Vogelman.
I'll exit. Trust me.
No, you can chill in the film strip. I mean,
I'll be quiet.
Okay, because Christopher actually, what's super neat is that Christopher trained at Harvard under Skinner. How's that?
Nice.
Yeah, so that's old school behaviorism. Yeah, that old school. Okay, sorry. Didn't mean to get us off track.
Okay. So we fixate, we breathe, we get eye closure. After eye closure, we focus on the idea of relaxing the eyes and the eyelids and the muscles around the eyes so completely that they just go 100% relaxed and they go into neutral and they won't open. They won't move, nothing. Perfect, beautiful relaxation. When you've done that to a point where you feel a difference, you might feel empty, you might feel heavy, you could feel light, but they just don't go anywhere, you feel some kind of difference, then you prove to yourself you've relaxed them that well by trying just one time to open your eyes and finding that they won't. If you try and they open, that means you got a little lagging control. You haven't bypassed the critical faculty, and you're really trying to prove to yourself that you can open your eyes. Yeah, of course you can. No one said you can't. What we said is, could you relax your eyes so much that they won't? You can open your eyes anytime you want to, but you're not getting the relaxation then. So you reframe for yourself the idea of it's okay to not be able to open my eyes because I want that beautiful level of relaxation. You go back and you refocus again on that idea. Relaxing so completely, so 100% completely that they won't open, and then you try to open them and you get a little bit of this maybe, but they just don't open. Now you know you have it. So there's your induction really. You've now, in doing that, in accepting the idea that you can't open your eyes because you've relaxed them so much, you've bypassed the critical faculty of your conscious mind and you've entered hypnosis. Now you want to deepen. And if you wanted to deepen through fractionation, what you would do is you'd give yourself back the ability to open your eyes. You'd say, okay, now I can open my eyes because I'm in hypnosis. And I'm going to open my eyes every time I count to myself. I'm going to count from 10 down to 1. And every time I count a number, whether it's out loud or in my mind, I'm going to open my eyes. And then after I count it, I'm going to close my eyes and double my relaxation. So you'd be like this. You'd set that up in your head. I'm going to count from 10 down to 1. Every time I count out loud, I open my eyes, and then I close my eyes and double my relaxation. So you go 10. And as soon as you close your eyes in your head, you sort of think twice as relaxed. And then you go 9. And you go twice as relaxed. And you just keep doing that. And by getting that opening and closing, even just that simple feeling of opening your eyes, which takes tension, but then letting them close and rest, there's a little tiny feeling of relaxation that comes back through. And you do it, and you do it, and you do it so that you deepen. You get all the way down to 1. Now you've deepened by stepping down from 10 to 1 and having the fractionation. And then you decide what you do from there. Would you like to utilize, which we're going to talk about in the next video, so I'm not going to go there today. We're going to talk about when you get to that point, how do you utilize, or is that enough for you? You were just practicing and you're done for today. If you're done for today, you say, I'm going to count from 1 up to 3, and when I get to 3, I'll open my eyes and I'll be all done with hypnosis. 1, 2, 3. You open your eyes. You set the experience. You create the context. It's up to you. You can stop hypnosis anytime you want to.
Yeah. Now, I want to combine the mindfulness concept here.
Okay.
With the mindfulness, one of the things that we do often is you imagine yourself in the center of a circle, like an imaginary circle around you. And you close your eyes, take a few breaths to relax, and you pay attention to, if you're someone who needs the outside stimulation, you put your hands on your belly if you're lying down, or if you're sitting down, you can put your hands on your belly, that's relaxing. And with each breath, you feel more relaxed. And what will happen is thoughts will surface. And what you do is you practice seeing the thoughts. And remember, as I said, consciousness happens in three-dimensional space. You picture the thought approaching, and the approaching signifies the increased intensity of the thought. And as the thought gets more intense, you are able to be aware of it, but before you react to it, you push it back away. Okay, and by pushing it far away, you visualize it becoming less intense. So what I like to have people do is to become mindful enough when a trigger kicks them off and they're about to do the auto script. Like if someone's an alcoholic and they see a commercial for alcohol and they're like, oh, gotta go. That was my cue. TV got me. And they go into the autopilot. If they can wait for 10 minutes, do the deep breathing, and visualize the idea kind of fading, the craving. The key is to bring the craving to consciousness, where you're like craving. Just imagine the craving like a big old floating bubble or something. Put the word craving on it and visualize it fading away. And then every time it pops up again, you're like craving. And as it's like when it's right in your face and it's huge, then you're like, oh, I have this awful craving, cocaine, or whatever your trigger happens to be. And I'm not making fun of anyone who's using this program for stuff like cocaine. I'm just pointing out that it all works the same way.
Yeah.
Literally. Now,
NLP, Manny, in NLP, they call that a swish pattern. They say you swish it away. You have it up and it's big and it's vivid in front of your face, and then you just swish it down and away and you let it get small and insignificant and fuzzy and not so. And there are people who've had a lot of success with that technique.
Yeah, it's powerful. Now, another thing is a lot of diseases and poor resilience is associated with what they call thought fusion. Your negative thoughts, you're so quick to judge them because you don't want to think about them anymore, so you're really hasty. With the relaxation, you're able to be in the moment, feel what you're feeling, and kind of ask yourself, okay, what does this signal mean? And you take the time then you say to yourself, you don't say, I'm never going to go get more Coke or whatever. You say, I'm going to wait for a bit and sit with the feeling. And you get used to how the feeling feels without the panic spike of, I'm not going to get my drug or whatever. But you practice regulating your breathing, and what you're doing is you separate the emotion from the action, the trigger from the action. Okay? OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, is about thought action fusion, where you think something and you're so nervous that you might do it that all your systems go, and then so you have to go do sort of reaction formation where you go wash your hands because you're worried that you might go off and kill someone. Again, Hamlet. So it's just, what's powerful about that is there's two aspects of that. The mindfulness, as well as the relaxation that you get through your hypnosis, gives you control so that the things that have happened traumatic to you, the things that have happened bad to you, when you go back and you revisit that memory, you retrieve the memory. You have it now in your mind. You're able to look at the memory from a safe place and kind of figure out what in the current trigger separates that moment from the moment in the past, so that you don't go into the autopilot again. So that you don't go into
a nice form of dissociation, right?
Precisely.
Because just that little bit of dissociation makes me feel safer. That I'm not right up in it. I got a little distance from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you've been through a serious trauma, and this works well with patients who've had a car accident or been to war, if when the trigger gets really close to your face and it's huge, it's overwhelming, what you do is you dissociate, but you don't dissociate. And I work with a great community of folks with dissociative identity disorder, also known as multiple personality disorder, for people who want to argue about it. But when you dissociate, you don't let your attention go into the vapor. you hop out of your body, but you hop to what's I want to say it's the allosteric point of view, but I know that's from organic chemistry. It's the point of view where you imagine yourself sitting in the room and you're watching whatever is happening, the trigger, on a film screen. Okay? Now, from a distance, you visualize the film screen that's like really close, so it triggered you to do the behavior or to dissociate where you blanked out and you went into one of your maladaptive personalities. You visualize, you're off watching you from outside of you in your visualization to recreate the memory, and you imagine the screen going further and further away. When you see the screen far enough away, when you feel safe, then you resume the point of view where now you imagine the memory from in front of you but far away, and then you resume the breathing again, and you imagine it going off until you can't hear or see it anymore.
I'm going to stop you there, because this is now we're really, this is like utilization stuff, right? Like this is, no, it's, I want to let you finish because someone can watch this and it's valuable, but I'm going to stop you there because this is the stuff we really want to talk about in the next video, where we say, okay, you've induced, you've deepened, now what do you do? How do you use it? And these are exactly the kind of strategies that people can get great value from, and hopefully we'll have a bunch more that we can talk about in the next video where we cover that stuff. But that was awesome. Thank you so much.
It's a preview then.
Yeah, absolutely. So just, we'll recap, okay? So we talked in the last video about induction, and today we talked about deepening. And deepening basically can happen through fractionation, you know, coming into hypnosis and then going out of hypnosis and then back into hypnosis and over again. Or it can happen through guided tasks which give you a way to realize that you're doing well with hypnosis and taking you deeper. So the key thing that runs through all of it is we want to get you more absorbed in the hypnotic experience. The more absorbed you get into it, that's where your focus narrows, and the more your focus narrows, the more you can concentrate on getting whatever it is you want to get done. Now, we know that we're going to talk about utilization, and we're going to talk about suggestions, how to make good suggestions. We'll cover that in the next video, but you know that you don't have to be in hypnosis to take suggestions. They're around you all the time in the world, and you don't have to be super deeply hypnotized in order to do good change work. It's not an absolute prerequisite for doing change work. But if you go back to that scale that we showed, for some of the things that you need to do, like if you want to give someone anesthesia, you know, if you come upon the scene of an accident and there's someone who got real messed up in a car accident and you want to help them calm down, you can use instant hypnosis and you can take that pain away so they can be calm until the medics arrive. You need to get them deep enough into hypnosis where you can do that. You can't do that at level 1. You can't do it at level 2. You know, you got to get them to that level where anesthesia is possible. So that's what, you know, that's where we're covering basically.
Because I've had to do some reframing and stuff in some traumatic situations with anesthesia, and where I guess I don't have as much practice. But how do you do that? Is that deepening also? Where how do you get that person deeper when you're not able to get that initial attention?
Because people are in a highly charged situation usually, you kind of get a benefit from that. And you know, if you come to me and you want to quit smoking in my office, we're going to take our time and we're going to work you deeper and deeper and get you to a more focused level so that hopefully you can really focus on creating that positive change. If you're in a car accident or a traumatic situation, you're already fired up. Mm-hmm. And this goes back to what you said before about when people get afraid, they're looking for something to clutch to. So actually, there are some pretty simple techniques that you can use that will just give them something to latch onto, and they'll go deep into hypnosis. Okay. And you don't have to take a long time to get them to that state. Like, they're already fired up and they're ready to absorb and narrow because they've had all this fight or flight stuff key off that tends to make you super focused, you know, in the first place.
Yeah,
so, yeah. So you're sort of just leveraging that chemical state that they've already created. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Man, we almost went an hour today. This is so cool. This is fun.
Oh yeah. Now,
Next video, all utilization. We can talk about a lot more of this kind of stuff. We might go for another hour in the next one.
oh yeah, because I've got some pretty fascinating pathological stuff about utilization behavior.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
man. Now, do we have some questions? I don't have mine pulled up.
Carrie asks, practitioners certainly have goals set as reasons participate, but do they learn to transform these states into persistent lines of developmental stages? If so, who determines them? That's like a deeper, that's a good question.
Now, can you read that one more time just so that...
Well, initially, Carrie had asked, so does hypnosis also concern itself with stages as well, or does it restrict itself to states?
Okay.
So
Now,
I wasn't quite sure what that question was getting at, so I said, ask me that question a slightly different way.
okay.
And so the follow-up was, practitioners certainly have goals set as reasons participate, but do they learn to transform these states into persistent lines of developmental stages?
Okay.
If so, who determines them?
Okay. Now, I think that might be too deep for today, like for general audience, but I'd be happy to, we can hop on a hangout with her.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can linger here and talk about that. In fact, you know what? Because that's beyond the scope of what we're doing today. We'll wrap this up, and then even though we'll stop recording, we'll leave the hangout open, and we can pull some people in and just chat if they want.
Yep. And what's extra cool is that Dr. Vogelman taught physicians medical hypnosis, which is extra.
Yes,
So I've
I
got
would love to hear about that.
That's a twofer.
Yeah,
Double
cool.
up. BOGO. Buy one, get one.
All right, that's it.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. I'm Dr. Manny St. Victor.
I'm Paul Ramsey. Thanks for joining us.